In today's video, I am going to make an adorable mug rug. Let's get into the video. These are the materials that you will need in order to make a mug rug. The first thing you need are a pair of scissors, some yarn. You can use the multicolored yarn all in one, or you can use a solid color of yarn. You will also need a measuring tape, and you also need a crochet needle. The crochet needle that I would be using today would be the size G. So now I am going to show you how to start off on how to make this mug rug. So first you need to make a slip knot, and you are going to chain 17 chains, and your chains are going to be loose. Okay, so here I have my 17 loose chains. Once you have your 17 chains, the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to make half double crochets on the first row all the way till you get to the end. So once you have your chains, you are going to yarn over and go into the second chain from the hook and pull up a loop, yarn over, and then pull through all the loops. Then you go into your next chain, pull up a loop, wrap the yarn around your hook, and then pull through all the remaining loops. So these are the half double crochets that we are starting with. As you can see, they are not too tight, they're just perfect. And then I would just continue making the half double crochets. And make sure that when you go to the end, you complete the end by going into the last chain. Okay, so now I'm here at the end of the row, and I have just completed my half double crochets, which is a total of 17. So now, since we have completed the first row, now we are going to go into the next row. So in order to do that, I am going to chain 1, and I am going to turn my work. Now in the second row, we are not going to do any half double crochets. Now we're going to be making single crochets, but instead of going into the whole chain here, we're going to work on the back loops, and we're going to make a single crochet. So the only way that you can see how I am going into the back loops is if you turn this around a little bit, you can see that instead of going in between these two chains here, you're going to be working in the back. loop. So let me show you how I did that. So now I am going into my next chain, so I'm going in the back loop, and then I pull up a loop, yarn over, and then pull. I go into the next chain in the back, pull up a loop, and pull through all the loops. So this is called a single crochet stitch. And you want to make sure that you do not skip any chains whatsoever. Okay, so now I'm coming here to the end and I'm doing my last single crochet. Okay, so here is the second row. The second row of single crochets, but I was working in the back of the loop. So this is how it should look. So now the next thing is to go on to the third row, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to make a chain, turn your work, and then you're going to go into the back loop of the first chain from the hook. And the reason why you go into the first loop once you turn your work is because that way you will get a straight edge. If you don't go into the first chain from the hook, and then your edges are going to be looking kind of funny. They're not going to be straight. So you wanted to give it an even edge at the end. So you just continue doing this all the way to get to the end. Then you're going to chain one, turn your work, and then go into the first chain from the hook, go in the back loop, and make a single crochet. And when you make your stitches semi-loose, it gives it a really nice design. Like this. See, here it is. You can see how it's not tight, it's just semi-loose, and it gives it really nice design here in the center. So we are already working on the third row, and we will be going on to the fourth row. So this is going to be a repetitive of the same stitch for the remaining of the rows. So we're going to need 13 rows, and you're going to form it into a square. So I'm going to pause the video for a few minutes, and I am going to add more rows, and then I will meet you back and see how far we got along with this project. Okay, I have completed 12 rows of single crochets working in back of my loops. So now I am going to continue and finishing off with my last row of single crochets. So I will be going into my first loop but in the back, and then I will make a single crochet. Go into my next loop in the back, pull up a loop, wrap the yarn around the hook, and pull through the loop. Okay, here are my 13 rows that I have just completed, and this is how it's supposed to look in the shape of a square. So now I am going to fasten off here in the corner. I'm going to cut a little piece of this yarn. I'm going to make a knot. And then I just pull here a little bit. And in order to hide this little strand here, you can actually sew it, or you can just tuck it in between the other stitches. That way it doesn't show. And then now what we're going to work on are the tassels. Now, you know, like on a scarf, you put tassels on the edges. That's exactly what we're going to be working on now. So I am going to show you how long these tassels are going to be, and I'm going to show you another way of doing these in case like they're too long, and then at the end I'll show you how to trim them. So let me get this going and I'll show you how easy these tassels could be done. To make the tassels, you're going to get your measuring tape and you're going to line it up with the strand here of yarn, and you're going to measure it up to the 7. So you're going to need a 7-inch strand in order to make the tassels. Okay, so once I have my sample cut here, then I'm just going to line up with the remainder of the yarn. I'm gonna measure it up and then just trim it right there on the same length as the first one. So I just continue cutting my strands. And it's really important that you don't make them really small when it comes to the strands, because when you want to make a knot, a lot of times it's really difficult to make a knot. So it's better to leave them a little bit longer, and then at the end, when you have it all completed, and then you can just trim them off to the size that you want. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I did this. So now that we have the square completed, we're going to be putting the tassels on the side here. So I'm going to put it here, and it's also another tip that I want to give you guys too, is when you're doing these kinds of projects, to keep your project in place, it's best to have something heavy to hold your project while you're putting the tassels onto your project here. Otherwise it's really difficult because they'll start moving around, and as long as it's in its place, that's all you want, and it'll make it easier on yourself too. Okay, for the tassels, so you have 7 inches and you're going to need 4 strands all together like this. So once you have them together, you're going to go into these little holes. You probably have to go in there with your finger to feel it. So here you have a hole right here in the corner. So you're going to put those 4 strands right into that hole, and then you're going to line them up, and then you're going to make a knot, and it should look just like this, just like that. Okay, so I am going to make some more strands, and I will show you how this side turned out, and then we'll work on the other end as well. I am back, and now I have finished putting my tassels here on this edge, and this is how it looks. So now if you're not really happy with how the strands look, if they're a little too long, you can always trim them. So like for example, this one here is a little bit longer than the rest, and I just trim them here a little bit at a time just to make them even. Okay, so I like the way this side looks, and now we're going to turn our work, and then we're going to work on this end here. So now I am going to pause the video for a little bit, and then I will show you how to put the tassels onto this on this edge here. Okay, I have my 4 strands here. So now I'm going to insert the 4 strands into this hole here. Then I'm going to pull them, even them out, make sure they're even before you make the knot. And then you're going to make like a 4. Then you go underneath, and then you pull all the strands together. Then I go into my next one with 4 strands, and then I insert them into that hole. So like I said, you have to go in there with your finger to feel it, and then you pull the 4 strands together. Then you make like a 4, then you go underneath, and then you pull all the strands. Okay, and I missed one here, so I'm going to go back here and put another set of 4 strands. Okay, so here I have completed the tassels on each side, and now you kind of like brush them here a little bit. That way you know if the strands are a little too long, and then you can always trim them. And here I see that some of these strands are too long, so I'm just going to cut it. So this side looks really well, and this side you can check to see if all the strands fall in its place. And they all seem to look fine on each side. So this is how the mug rug should look. Well guys, thank you so much for joining me today, and if you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and leave me a comment down below letting me know what you think about this video today. And I will see you guys on my next video. Take care and be safe.